Welcome to the Liquidity Event, a show about all things personal finance with a laser focus on taxes, financial independence, and equity compensation. Hosted by AJ and Shane of Brooklyn FI, each episode will focus on a personal finance topic, some driven by news headlines and sometimes driven by listener questions. And sometimes you'll just get two money nerds rambling about what they think is interesting. Just a quick note before we get started, this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered tax or investment advice.
Hello and welcome to the Liquidity Event. I am your host, Shane Mason.
I'm Kody Sherlund.
AJ is still out on maternity leave. Happy to have you, Mr. Sherlund. And this is episode 197 being recorded on July 29th, airing July 30th. Reminder to email us your finance questions at liquidityevent@brooklynfi.com and we will answer them live on the air. On this week's episode of the Liquidity Event, we have, why can't I pronounce the Liquidity Event? I've said it assuredly 1,000 times at this point. We've got
at least 197.
At least 197 times. Thank you. We have the Flock safety CEO is speaking out against the LAPD. Ooh, cops on cops. Anthropic considers an unusual plan for an employee stock sales. SpaceX makes history as one of the worst IPOs in years / ever. Spain could face losing a huge chunk of $50 million World Cup prize to IRS after a historic win. The Millennial generation has split, new Fed research shows, seeking advice from people further along the wealth building journey from a 38-year-old on Reddit. Kody, how we doing, buddy? Long time no see. How's your summer going?
Good. We're in the dog days of summer. The golf game is grinding. I got a lesson yesterday. The driver is maybe going to work. We'll see.
The drop and spin. What was the Larry David episode where he gets the free?
Yeah.
he's dropping on the lesson, and then he has the best golf day of his life.
Yeah. And honestly, it's like cliche, but it's all on the hips. No, genuinely, that's what we were working on yesterday.
As the famous Happy Gilmore once said, it's all.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're golfing a lot. What else is going on with you? I think we were chatting about something else going on with you before the episode rang up. Is there?
Oh, also in the dog days of wedding planning.
What are dog days? I don't get. What does that phrase mean? I think that there's a hole in my linguistics there.
I don't totally know what the etymology of it is, but it's hot. You're grinding through it. You're not loving the process necessarily. You're in the thick of it, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. All right.
Let's look it up.
Dog
days etymology. Yeah, it links the hottest summer heat to the star Sirius. Okay, sure.
There's dogs involved. I feel like this is deleterious to dogs, honestly. Charlie, what do we think?
Yeah.
The flea.
What do you think?
He's. I got a grunt. I got a little grunt out of him. All right. Okay, cool. So you're wedding planning. I was in San Diego yesterday. I was on the USS Midway. For any military people listening, there's a museum in San Diego. Have you heard of this? Are you into that type of thing? Or do you have the military autism
dude.
like I do? Okay.
Yeah. I fall asleep watching World War II documentaries in black and white.
Yes. If you're ever in San Diego, I highly recommend getting on the USS Midway. It's pretty cool. They have an app where you don't have to use the audio tour that they hand you the thing. You can use your own earbuds. And there's an app and you can go through. And I thought there was going to be like, oh, this is layer 1, layer 2. Like maybe they have a video and a description for every piece of aircraft on the aircraft carrier, of which they have like 70 or 80, like one of each jet that we've ever used, helicopters. It's pretty, if you have 6 hours to kill and you like the military, highly recommend.
Our colleague, Melanie, shout out Melanie, senior planner.
Yeah.
She's in San Francisco right now. And she and her husband are checking out a World War II submarine thing today, like literally an hour ago.
Oh, I'm going to text her.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could drink beer on the Midway. Not sure if you can drink beer in the whatever submarine she's on today, but as a UGA alum, I'm sure she will find out.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's get into our articles. We're going to start off with Flock today. Flock has been under a lot of pressure. We've talked about it a few times on the podcast, actually. But it looks like the LAPD suspended use of the company's surveillance cameras. Not surprising, people in LA do not want to be watched by the Flock. And the CEO is speaking out saying that This is, trying to alleviate the pain, saying that, look, just because Flock reads your license plate doesn't mean that it's going to pursue you, or it's like, stop thinking about what Flock is going to be 30 years from now. All it does right now is read your license plate and then retain that information for 30 days. There have been a number of abuses of the Flock cameras by police officers, and we're not exactly an ACAB podcast, but we're not surprised by this as well. Kody, what were your thoughts on the Flock CEO?
The two things I was thinking about are, okay, so they're like, okay, we're just looking at license plates. Sure.
Right.
But, is that going to always be the case? But anyway, the two things that I'm thinking about are, one, LAPD is not like some consumer protection agency.
Right.
They have a specific mandate, and even they are like, ooh, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. This is this is a little
These are the
scary.
people that did Rodney King, by the way. This is
right.
This is brought to you by the Rodney King people.
And then it also asks a little bit of a broader question, like, people are pretty uncomfortable with like an extremely aggressive surveillance state, and there is a lack of institutional trust at some level. And like the fact that the police department of one of the largest cities in the United States is like, maybe not. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of public skepticism into wanting this, like just having cameras absolutely everywhere. But it's like a double-edged sword.
Yeah, they pushed back saying, hey, look, we captured this murderer. He was on the loose. He killed 4 people. He was on the loose for a few days. Don't you guys like that? Don't you guys like? This is one step closer to 1984. Not to exaggerate, but it is a step towards that. I mean, they like to say we just take photos of license plates, but we all know that if you take 100 photos of the same license plate, you can reconstruct an entire lifestyle. You can reverse engineer where people are. You can figure out if they're cheating, if they're speeding, if they're, you could build a profile. And there are multiple trillion-dollar companies over the last 20 years that can piece together little data points that can reconstruct a life. So don't tell me that you're just taking photos of license plates and not selling that data elsewhere. Like, we know what you're doing. We're smarter than this. It's not 2004 anymore, fellows. We know what you guys are up to. Americans historically have not given a shit about privacy. I'm surprised they're pushing back so hard in LA on this front. I don't know.
Yeah, like, I don't know. If someone were to take pictures of my license plate 10,000 times, they'd be like, all right, this guy goes to the golf course, the golf store, the hockey rink, and then probably more than you should to Taco Bell, which would not surprise you if you just looked at my Chase statement and found that anyway.
Damn, dude, I gotta come visit you in person. that sounds like a life. I need to come hang up north.
Crunchwrap Supreme is easy to eat while driving.
Yeah. Some say. It's good to know. You heard it from.
And the lettuce is fine.
Heard it here first. I think Taco Bell's. Wait, also, we're not talking about like the cyclocelia outbreak at Taco Bell, right? We're missing that.
Pretty sure I'm good.
You seem good. You're doing well. I think Taco Bell is making inroads into Mexico, by the way. I need to double check that, but I think they're making a pass, which I would not be surprised.
Yeah, get a Taco Bell cantina, get a Corona with your Crunchwrap. Why not?
You know how Europeans make fun of McDonald's? This is a champagne problem joke or like a rich guy joke, but I'm taking my mom to Italy in a couple of weeks, and I was like, maybe I'll go to like a Paris Saint-Germain game now that I'm a soccer person. And I think their stadium is like called like the McDonald's Stadium or something. It's like McDonald's is all up in European football at this point.
Yeah.
And they're coming for you, folks. The American, once you get a taste of those portions and the sodas, I think it's just because they haven't made their inways yet, but the American lifestyle is creeping in for better or for worse over there.
I've been doing a bit of a deep dive on a lot of European soccer since the World Cup. I'm a soccer guy now too, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, what Premier League team should I be a fan of? And it's like,
Man City. Say Man City.
Yeah, Man City's like the Dodgers of the Premier League though. But whatever the case, I'm asking Claude questions about like, okay, what teams like, whatever. And they're like, oh yeah, you should like Brighton. They're kind of like the Tampa Bay Rays of the Premier League.
I see.
And they were literally sponsored by American Express.
Yeah.
Which sick.
Which
like Chelsea is owned by an American group now instead of a Russian oligarch, which cool.
Yeah. I'll say it again. I think I've said this once before on the podcast. It's not that I don't love the European 0% GDP lifestyle. Like that is awesome. But if America continues to grow 4% per year, eventually we will just have so much money. Unfortunately, we'll just buy everything. Like that's just what happens when one company, like when one group or population outgrows another one, they're eventually going to take the. And I don't want that to happen. So I would hate to see the American culture just override European culture because we've just purchased everything. That would really bum me out. Not to digress too much, but
There'd be a little bit of irony in that.
there would be. Yeah. Damn. Also a soccer guy. What was I? Yeah, I just like Holland. That's why I want to watch Man City. All right. Anyway, so I might have to ping you on and let me know which Premier League. You've done the research. Let me know what Premier League team I should root for. Also, I think the amount of sports that you, me, and Ethan have discussed in this podcast is more than AJ and I have covered in the first 3 years, in the first 194 episodes of the podcast.
We might have sports out of AJ too.
Yeah, well, we got some golf, but we might be getting close to the amount of Taylor Swift content at this point with the World Cup and talking to Ethan about fishing and shooting. Okay, anyway, speaking of having a lot of money, Anthropic is going to IPO later this year. They went from a valuation of $4 billion to about $950 billion over the course of just 3 years. A spinoff of the OpenAI leadership team with Dario. I'm going to mispronounce his last name, and I don't have it in front of me, so I'm not going to say it. But they are considering an unusual. Thank you. They are considering an unusual plan for an employee stock sales after it goes public. And this is the first time I've seen this. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kody. You're more in the weeds with companies IPOing and the way that they lock people up and the way they restrict people. But this is actually kind of a reverse restriction in that there's a little used form of allowing executives to submit for stock sales outside of trading windows. And typically, if you're high enough up in a company, you can't trade just like everybody else during open windows. You need to get permission. And if you want to trade inside blackout periods, you need to submit what's called a 10b5-1 plan, where essentially you lay out all of your sales ahead of time. And you say, on this date in the future, I'm committed to selling or exercising options because I have, quote unquote, material non-public information, which means that I know when things are going up and down. So I should not be able, I'm not permitted to trade like normal people because I can manipulate things or short or, get ahead of the curve. So Anthropic is considering allowing all of its employees to submit 10b5-1 plans, which is cumbersome on the plan administrators, on the broker that handles all of this stuff, because now we have a lot more paperwork that isn't always standardized, and you can submit all types of things on a 10b5-1, such as like a limit order, and you can submit sometimes 2 10b5-1 plans and then retract one if it's not going the way that you like. Kody, what are your thoughts on allowing every employee of Anthropic post-IPO to submit this complicated document that allows them to trade in the blackout periods?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. At face level, I kind of like it.
Mm-hmm.
So we usually see 10b5-1 plans getting applied to like a handful of executives at some large publicly traded companies. It usually doesn't apply to a ton of people. It's basically like, okay, I've got a lot of stock in this company that, again, I probably have material non-public information for. And if I just say every quarter, as long as the stock is trading above X dollars on the the second week of the second month of every quarter, like I'm just going to sell 10,000 shares every time and rinse my hands of it. Don't have to worry about insider trading accusations because I've just said I just need to diversify out of this position. I'm not trying to time it, right? For Anthropic, it's interesting because, one, I mean, we've seen like explosive meteoric growth while they're still a private company. And when they do go public, there are a lot of folks who have a ton of equity in Anthropic,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's going to be looking for ways to try to participate in liquidity, which is going to be
Mm-hmm.
kind of messy. Like, if there are a lot of people with 7-8 figures worth of Anthropic stock, like how do we use something other than a traditional 6-month lockup to make sure that a ton of shares don't just necessarily get blown out the door all at once too?
Mm-hmm.
The other nice thing is that all of these employees, if they do participate in a 10b5-1 plan and they submit their requests over to say ShareWorks, like, well, how are we going to trade out of this over time? Like, it helps those people create a plan, which is something that we would be doing for them anyway, is trying to come up with like a quarterly trading plan so that after an IPO, we know that we can sell tranches of RSUs, we can exercise some ISOs, we can sell some non-qualified options, and start spreading out our decision making over time, instead of just saying, you know what, 6 months after the lockup, let's cross our fingers, hope for a good price, and try to sell it all in like mid 2027 or something. That's a risky plan. A 10b5-1 is kind of nice because you're creating a staggered approach. And again, the really nice thing here is it actually doesn't have to be inside a trading window a couple days after earnings get released. You can stagger it and schedule it out even more detailed between trading windows too. That way, if let's just create a hypothetical stock price here of $100 a share, and you feel good about that price, but then it climbs up to 120 or 130, and you had created a 10b5-1 plan that says, I want to sell X number of shares if it goes over 120. You don't have to hope that earnings are good and it doesn't fall back down before you can sell. If your 10b5-1 plan said that you want to sell, the broker at ShareWorks, Morgan Stanley's, didn't do it. So, and you're not going to get accused of anything because you just put it in writing without having information on the future anyway. So I'm pretty sure I like the idea.
Yeah.
It just takes good planning because you are creating a detailed plan that, you know, we're trying to get brokers to execute for us, but we also need to be really mindful of all the taxes that can go on in the background. And
100%. Yeah, I mean, it's curious. They're still working on their lockup disclosures as well, and they're trying to figure out who can sell what and where. Famously, Elon can't sell any of his SpaceX shares until June of 2027. So there's like everybody is subject to their own, or a lot of people are subject to their own restrictions in an effort to make sure that the IPO is successful and buoyed. And we're going to talk about SpaceX's IPO here directly after this article. But one thing that I found interesting is that you don't know, like companies do not know who is going to be selling what and when, right? Like if you say, all right, after the IPO, you have everyone has a 6-month lockup or 2-month lockup unless we hit certain thresholds like SpaceX has going on, which is I find very interesting, and or like everybody at IPO can sell 20% of their shares. Nobody really knows if anything's going to be sold, how much and who and where and why. But with all these 10b5-1 plans, you're essentially getting the name of the person, their social security number, the exact amount of shares. Like, so you can build almost like a big block trade, a hypothetical block trade, and these brokers will know and be able to analyze that. They're probably going to use AI to summarize all that information. This is Anthropic, and then put together an expected impact on stock prices. And that could also help. I was at a NASPP conference, Stock Plan Participants Conference, essentially the people that admin stock plans, and then Morgan Stanley was there, and I was pestering one of the guys that works at Morgan Stanley that handles the brokerages or the brokering. Let's say a quarterly vest happens at a Figma, and you have to handle all of the sales of all of these RSUs that are vesting, and you've got vest or you've got withhold to cover, right? And I was like so curious, like, oh, so you guys, let's say 100 or 10,000 shares of a company are vested to the employees. They go into their paycheck. You have to sell 30,000 of them. Those just go into the market and they try to get the right price throughout the day. And I was like, you don't do limit orders? And he's like, no, we can't do limit orders. We're selling like such a large chunk of stock. Like, what if none of that triggers? And then I can't pay the IRS for all these people that have to have this withholding done. It's very interesting, complicated, deep rabbit hole of equity comp stuff. And there's a massive industry that holds all this together, this incentive comp. Anyway, so it'll be curious to see, like, have all those 10b5, all that data is just there for the brokers to have way ahead of time instead of just the day prior to that quarterly vest, which is a massive day for all these people that handle these plans. So this article is actually kind of funny. Like, talks about how Modi will talk very bluntly on Slack, and he has apparently a vision quest twice a month where he talks to employees about where the company is going. I don't know. I've been playing with Fable a lot lately. It is fun. It's getting smarter and smarter, more and more capable. Well, we're talking about Elon here a bit ago. Let's talk about this SpaceX IPO. One of the worst IPOs in history, apparently. If you consider IPOs for companies that IPO at over $1 billion. We got a Barron's article here The rocket/AI company was once at $260-ish per share. It debuted at 135. I believe it's now closer to 100. Is it going to go into double digits? A lot of people think it's a $30 stock. Is the Elon effect that happened at Tesla going to manifest here in SpaceX? Elon has dealt with short sellers many, many, many times in his past, over the past 10, 15 years. Maybe we're just in a short-term nadir. Kody, what are your thoughts on the dip in the price of SpaceX?
Who could have seen this coming? I mean, all right, we IPO'd at 135.
Yes.
Shot over 200, and then slides. Yeah. I am not in the business of timing this kind of thing or claiming that I have a crystal ball to know what's going to happen, but I have people that can vouch for me that can say that there was a reasonable expectation that this might happen. Anyway, past performance is not indicative of future returns. What's interesting here is, one, who the IPO made shares available to, who bought these shares at what points in time and what prices, and what that valuation was actually reflecting. Like, that valuation was reflecting a company that does not actually make a ton of money. Like, was SpaceX truly worth $1.8 trillion? You know, it could be in the future, and that's kind of what people were kind of banking on and hoping on, but they make, like, what, $18 billion a year in annual revenue or something like that? Like, a lot of prognosticating and whatnot that goes on here. But you have a lot of people that drink Elon Kool-Aid. And part of why they did this IPO was to get a bunch of cash. And there were a lot of retail investors that participated in the IPO. A lot of people that were going into their Robinhood and Schwab accounts and buying a handful of SpaceX shares because they were thinking, I can make money off of this. It's Elon. He knows what he's doing. It's going to go up. And there were probably people that bought at $170, $190 a share that are they're down now. And like, it's kind of making you wonder, like, okay, which of these, who's holding the bag? Because whenever there's a transaction, someone buys it and someone sells it, you know. I would have probably felt pretty good if I were selling SpaceX at $170 a share, which I personally have never traded a share of SpaceX before, I promise. But, like, yeah, I
don't lie. You bought it to 200. You don't have to lie here, buddy.
Yeah, not a chance.
We know you. You know who sold at 200 were the VCs. The people, the smart money, and I believe this is probably why the retail investors were, so many retail investors instead of just pure institutional investors were permitted to participate in the IPO. I mean,
that's exactly right.
Who else would be, so to speak, the dumb money at the end of the line? There's no more juice to squeeze from this, which is pretty clear. Over the last 6 months, I mean, it debuted, where was it? We're a month and a half in here. It debuted 135, went up to 200, as we already said. Down. It's down essentially 30%, 40% from its height. It is still worth $1.5 trillion. So I guess it was at $2 trillion at some point for a brief moment of time. The high water mark has receded, and yeah, it is getting included in, like you said, retail investors are getting a piece of it, and also it's going to be included in some key indexes. I believe it's already in the S&P 100. It could be included in the S&P 500, NASDAQ 100, Russell 1000. Getting included in any of these indexes means that it just gets a lot of buoying from the buying pressure from the ETFs and mostly from like 401ks that just automatically will purchase that stock, which there's trillions of dollars on the upward pressure in that regard. So once they get a piece of that, which I believe the Trump administration was trying to fast track through some special rules, I'm surely there's no special relationship with Trump and Elon Musk. I mean, God, I could go on and on and on here. Okay, cool. Anything else you want to say about the SpaceX IPO? We are rooting for the SpaceX employees, to be clear. The stock was trading at insane multiples, so we shouldn't be surprised that those multiples have reverted to the mean, so to speak, or come down to earth, which is an appropriate pun for SpaceX. Anything else you want to cover, Kody, before we move on?
I mean, for SpaceX employees, I mean, hopefully as these lockups start to hit those staggered cliffs, it would be nice to start seeing some reasonable exits spread out over time, and get some of these employees some hard-earned dollars in their pockets too. We're not rooting against it, despite any possible personal feelings toward the man himself. But...
Just a friendly reminder to sell at the IPOs. Sell what you can, especially when you can take some chips off the table and create a core portfolio that you can live on for the rest of your life. You typically want to take that bet, bird in the hand type beat. Okay, speaking of Infantino, let's rock with Spain. Could face losing a huge chunk of its $50 million World Cup prize to the IRS after a historic win. Could face huge chunk. I love this. This article is all. This is from Yahoo Sports, and there's a lot of fear-mongering, I fear, about the IRS in this article because there's a lot of conditionals here about how the IRS could take a cut. What is it? What do you mean Americans could take a cut? Like the IRS is not some boogeyman. This is this is Americans, okay? It's not like the IRS takes money and like friendly reminder how taxes work. It's our money that we're putting together. Like we get it back, hopefully, right? There's not some guy at the IRS that keeps it.
Like is there like some like, oh no, the boogeyman is coming to get the country of Spain? No.
Yeah.
The athletes earned.
Yeah.
The athletes and the coaches and the trainers earned some money that was, earned on American soil and therefore realistically taxed in the United States. Like, I mean, I think the funnier story here is that FIFA, they've never done anything wrong with money before, has secured tax exemptions for every other tournament they've played.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, when we went to Qatar or Russia or South Africa or Brazil, yeah, we didn't pay any income tax in those countries.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's really funny that FIFA didn't get a gigantic tax exemption for tens of millions of dollars of earned income in the US. It's just like, nah, this is earned income. Like, is it really that big of a deal?
Yeah. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, FIFA runs the World Cup, and they usually schedule it out 4, 8, sometimes even 12 years in advance. And there's a bidding process wherein countries can offer to be the next host of the World Cup, and it works on a continental basis. So if like America supposedly can't be the host of the World Cup for I believe another 8 years, but FIFA has famously taken billion-dollar bribes, and a lot of the people that used to run FIFA are in prison and are not allowed to participate in any soccer-related events ever again. It's one of the most corrupt organizations. It's essentially the mafia of soccer, which is kind of fun and kind of cool to like watch like bribery and corruption happen at the international scale. Like we still got it, America. Like humans are still capable.
Did we ever wonder why Qatar, a country that wasn't even qualifying for the World Cup, got awarded a World Cup that was supposed to take place in the summer? And they like, okay, we actually need to move it to November. Like, yeah. Shout out Sepp Blatter. I've got a joke for you. What do you call? What do you call a group of FIFA officials riding in a car together?
I don't know. What do you call it?
It's the back of a squad car.
Yes, perfect. Excellent.
Yeah, apparently there's this wild story of a whole bunch of them getting busted in a hotel lobby in Zurich back in like 2016 or something. That's worth reading. It's pretty funny. But
yes. Yes. Well, speaking of getting busted, there's a chance that the U.S. will ignore prior norms and actually take a cut of the winnings. Typically, when you come to the United States and you work here and you earn money on U.S. soil, unless that money is specifically excluded via an income tax treaty, it will be taxable in the United States. Another fun thing about the World Cup is that every team does win an additional prize the deeper you go into the World Cup. And yes, Spain, because they won like $50 million. I think Argentina got something like $40 million. A big portion of that money goes to the players. In America, famously, it goes half and half to the male and female players. So the women's players got half of the men's winnings this year, which I believe was 20 or 16 million-ish or something like that, which is interesting. The women's World Cup is in 2027, so we got to watch out for that. The men will also get half of their winnings from that World Cup, which is also an interesting feature of the collective bargaining agreement that they entered into. But yeah, so unless they don't have an exclusion, Spain will have to, all these teams will have to pay up to the IRS. Now, if they do pay, they will get a tax credit in their home countries so they're not double taxed. But I imagine a lot of times countries only tax players when they earn it on their soil because they don't tax people based on citizenship worldwide. They only tax players and people if that money is earned in the country, there where they were at. So maybe there wasn't going to be any tax in Spain because it wasn't earned there, and now the IRS is just going to take their cut and there's no tax credit. We will be watching for this. It isn't settled yet, but maybe we'll get an update for you guys in the coming months. I don't think Canada and Mexico even didn't take a crack at the taxes, but I don't know. We'll keep our eyes on that one. The millennial generation has split, Kody. A Fortune article. New Fed research shows that some are edging towards boomer-style wealth while everyone else falls behind. This article is a lot of economic data around how we need to think differently about the economy based on the way that we used to measure it. We would measure households instead of the people living within those households, because a traditional household economic unit was mother and a father and their kids, where in a more modern reality, households are full of one owner and then a bunch of other adults that are not married or related. They're just living together, a lot of renting and adult children. And it shows that home ownership is way, way down as compared to the prior data, because we weren't traditionally tracking the adults that were out of the economy, or not homeowners, living with each other. So what was your take on that article and that data point?
Yeah, there's a few threads here that are worth picking up on. One is a lot of our traditional measurements are, you have to understand what they're actually saying. Like the housing population like what percentage of the population lives in an owner-occupied home, right? That the denominator was messed up beforehand, because it's like, okay, well, if you live at home with your parents, or like, that's going to skew the denominator, like who's included in the study. It kind of makes you think about like the unemployment rate, right? Which is basically based on what percentage of people who are out of work are actively looking for work. It does not account for the percentage of people who have given up on looking for work. So that's when we start looking at, I mean, people have been aware of this for a long time. That's why we look at things like the, prime age employment ratio, for example. So even if the unemployment rate is like 4%, okay, well, what's the age of people between the ages of like 25 and 58 who are actually working?
Mm-hmm.
Like pure people,
Mm-hmm.
not, there's a lot of stuff that you can think about there. But what I think the story is really saying is, I think the title is kind of bombastic, because,
Yes.
like, obviously, a 39-year-old is probably going to be a little bit economically better off than a 31-year-old.
They just
Like,
had to
that's
put the
normal.
word millennial and boomer in the same space.
Yeah,
That was
right,
required.
right.
Yeah. Really, this is an
Yeah.
economic data, or like,
What this is really getting at is that housing is expensive
yes.
for a number of reasons. Like, okay, housing is far more expensive than it was 6, 7, 10 years ago, right? And if we go all the way back to the Great Recession, there's a lot of reasons that this has happened. And the biggest, I think, is it's a supply problem, especially in supply-constrained coastal and Midwestern cities.
Mm-hmm. Not
Like,
Austin.
yeah, because Austin built, right? So, like, if you look at Minneapolis, Chicago, New York, San Francisco, it's been really difficult to build in most of these cities since the end of the Great Recession. Like, a lot of builders went out of business because they got slammed in 2008 building, McMansion exurban developments. So they don't exist anymore. People got spooked by seeing housing prices fall from 2007, 2008, 2009. And we've barely built any inventory since then.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as demand goes up, as the population grows, but the housing stock does not grow, it just gets older. Unless we're dramatically adding supply, it's just going to push prices up. And the timing at which certain people have been able to buy homes over the last, say, 10 years, the ages at which most millennials will have been able to do that,
Mm-hmm.
it was a lot easier to buy a house in 2018 or 2019 than it is now. Guess who was more likely to buy a house in 2018 or 2019? Someone over the age of 35 as opposed to someone under the age of 35. That's just kind of how the cookie's crumbling here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and I think that you honestly see a lot of diverging outcomes for people in prior generations at those ages too. Like, a household that is comprised of 2 income earning adults with no kids is going to be better off than a household with 1 income earning adult and 3 kids, right? Now, I'm not saying they're like happier or like truly better off in their heart, but like, there's going to be more cash flow and you can buy more house, right? So, yeah, I mean, really what I think is important here is that housing is so expensive, and if you're living in anywhere that has any sort of supply constraint, like, you're probably better off renting, even if you're doing okay.
Yeah.
Like, you could be in a dual income household making $400,000 a year, and it's like, you know what, I want to live in Brooklyn. It's still definitely a better idea for us to rent than it is to buy something for $1.6 million. It just cash flow wise doesn't make any sense.
It's a supply problem. 100% agree, as Kareem would say on Subway Takes. Well said, Kody. Let's build some more housing. Let's bring the cost of housing down, and unfortunately also the value of the houses that were already built will come down as well.
Can we get rid of the NIMBYs?
Yeah, who are these NIMBYs I keep hearing about?
Those are the boomers. Those are the boomers.
Yeah. Well, yeah. People vote for their own interests, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I don't think we have time to get into our Reddit article. We'll save it for the future. Thank you so much for listening to the liquidity event. Thank you for co-hosting with me, Mr. Sherlund. So great to see you. Finally, all of you stands, if you want to be weird about it, can leave us a 5-star review. Thank you.